This is the BLUETTI AC300 with the B300K expansion battery, paired with two foldable 200-watt solar panels. It is a solar generator system for people who want reliable home backup without gas, for folks who travel with a recreational vehicle and want quiet power, and for anyone who likes the idea of charging from the sun during the day and having a serious battery on standby at night. I bought it for a home that sees a few outages each year, and for weekend trips where plugging in is not guaranteed. My priority was reliability first, then ease of use, then expandability so I would not hit a wall 6 months later. The design is unapologetically utilitarian in a way that actually helps in daily use. The main unit looks like a compact appliance, roughly the size of a bulky microwave oven, with squared edges and side handles you will be thankful for. The expansion battery slides under it like a heavy drawer, so once they are stacked they feel like one solid block. The colors are simple black and gray, and the front display is bright, readable, and does not glare under indoor lights. The whole setup is heavy. I am talking roughly 140+ pounds combined. That is the kind of weight you plan around. Once I put it in place, I stopped thinking of it as something I would move often. If I roll it to the driveway or load it for a camping trip, I use a dolly. That is not a knock. It is just the trade-off for serious capacity and an inverter that can power more than just a phone charger and a lamp. The top of the main unit has two wireless charging pads, which sounded like a gimmick until I started dropping my phone there while doing other things. The front has enough outlets to make sense of a small emergency. I have standard household outlets, a beefy 30-ampere recreational vehicle outlet, a 12-volt car-style socket, and a cluster of universal serial bus ports including the Type-C high-wattage one that actually charges modern laptops. It is not the number of ports that matters. It is that they are the right ones in the right place and clearly labeled. Setup felt like a real plug-and-play experience. I unboxed the main unit and the expansion battery, connected the included battery cable, and locked the latches. The touch screen walked me through the first power on. I unfolded the two solar panels in the backyard, propped them at a rough angle with the kickstands, and clicked the connectors together. The moment the sun hit the panels, the display showed solar input climbing, and I saw the battery percentage begin to creep up. It sounds simple, and it was. The only time things got more technical was when I thought about making it a whole home uninterruptible power supply for both sides of my breaker panel. That is where I paused and called an electrician to talk through transfer switch options. If you want automatic whole home backup to large circuits, plan on a proper switch and a pro, especially if you care about split-phase compatibility. I decided to start with a subpanel and essential loads instead of redoing my entire electrical work right away. Daily use has been refreshingly straightforward. The touch screen is fast and responsive. It shows what is coming in from solar, what is going out to your devices, and how the batteries are doing in real time. The interface avoids cryptic codes and uses plain language. That matters when you are troubleshooting a shaded panel or a hungry appliance. I like that I can change charging behavior, like limiting grid charging overnight or prioritizing solar during the day. I also tried the mobile app over Bluetooth on my phone, and it mirrors most controls without me needing to walk to the garage. I still prefer the on-device screen for quick checks because it is immediate. Performance is where this setup proved itself for me. The inverter inside the main unit is strong enough to handle the essentials I care about. When the power blinked off on a rainy morning, the uninterruptible power supply feature picked up the load so quickly that my modem and router never rebooted. The refrigerator compressor kept humming, and the coffee maker finished a brew cycle without any weird behavior. I even tested a shallow well pump on a separate run to see if the startup surge would trip anything. It started, the display spiked to show the surge draw, the fan spun up slightly, and then it settled. Fans are worth mentioning. Under a heavy load or during fast charging, you hear a whoosh of air that I would call background noise rather than annoyance. Under light loads, it sits quietly. Those two foldable 200-watt panels have been better than I expected. They are not magic. Cloud cover matters and placement matters. But on a partly sunny day, I watched the input hover in a range that easily covered my internet gear, lights, and phone charging while still adding to the battery. The screen shows voltage and wattage per photovoltaic input, which is more useful than it sounds. I moved one panel a few feet to get it out from behind a tree shadow, and the numbers jumped, which told me right away that placement was the issue, not a cable. When I want full control, I prop the panels to roughly the angle of the sun and nudge them every hour or so. When I do not want to babysit them, I leave them out and accept that I will get less. That flexibility is the whole point for me. Real-life testing has been simple. Overnight, I let the system run the refrigerator, networking gear, and a few lights, and I checked the battery in the morning. With just those essentials, I still had plenty of capacity left. On a separate test, I purposely ran a small space heater for a short burst to see how the inverter responded to a resistive heavy load. The output numbers jumped, the fans kicked in, and everything stayed stable. I do not run that heater long because any battery will drain quickly on heat, but it is good to know the system has the backbone to handle it. For travel, I plugged the recreational vehicle shore power into the 30-ampere outlet, turned off the heavy draws like the air conditioner and the microwave, and used lights, the water pump, and a laptop. The convenience of the built-in universal serial bus Type-C ports meant I did not have to dig for adapters. I kept the panels outside the camper door, angled them midday, and watched the input offset most of my usage. One specific use case that sold me was a work-from-home day during a storm. I kept my desktop, monitor, and internet running off the BLUETTI while letting the panels replenish during breaks in the clouds. I recorded a part of this video, edited clips, and never thought about the grid. The screen became a dashboard for my day. Input on the left, output on the right, battery percentage in the middle. When I saw input drop because the sun ducked behind clouds, I closed a couple of programs and let the battery handle the rest. That small layer of awareness is something a loud gas generator never gave me. Instead of guessing, I could act. There are a few smart touches that genuinely improve the experience. The uninterruptible power supply mode is the obvious one. It is a must if you care about not losing a file or rebooting a router during a blip. The system also recognizes multiple expansion batteries, and you can scale up to 4 if your needs grow. My B300K arrived at about 2/3 charge, while the original was full, and the screen showed that difference right away so I could balance them. Capacity per battery is a bit over 2,000 watt-hours, which translates to real usage more than bragging rights. Put simply, one battery keeps essentials alive overnight. 2 batteries give you breathing room for an outage that drags into the next day while the sun refills the tank. I like that I can set charge limits to protect longevity. There is also a simple energy history readout. I do wish it summarized daily totals more prominently on the home screen rather than tucking it into a menu, because I check that often. It is not perfect. The weight is real and it matters. If you plan to move it often, budget for a cart or a small hand truck. The cabling between the main unit and the expansion battery is robust but chunky, so you will want to place the units close and avoid repeated connections. The fans under heavy charge can be noticeable in a small room, so I keep the system in the garage where noise is irrelevant. And while the interface is friendly, the path from casual backup to whole home backup requires extra gear and an electrician. That is not a fault of the device. It is just the reality of doing it safely and correctly. I also noticed that the wireless charging pads are handy for phones, but they slow down if the surface gets warm. When that happens, I switch to the universal serial bus Type-C port for faster charging. After living with it, I would describe the BLUETTI AC300 with the B300K expansion battery as a dependable, scalable power backbone. It is best for someone who values quiet, clean backup power, wants to start with a solid core and expand later, and appreciates seeing exactly what is happening with their energy. If you want a lightweight power box to carry one-handed, this is not that. If you want something to park in a corner that just takes over when the grid stumbles, and you want the option to build it out over time, this fits. It kept my essentials running without drama, it gave me useful insight into my usage, and it turned sunlight into meaningful, everyday power. That is the kind of reliability I was looking for. If you found this video helpful, consider subscribing to the channel. I would love to hear how you are using your backup power, so drop a comment with your setup or any questions you have. Thank you for watching.